Okay, so in this episode, we are going to be looking at groups, users, and licenses. Got a couple of different ways we can set up the users. We can do it through Entra admin, through the Entra admin center. We can do it through the 365 center, and we can also do it through the Intune admin center. Now, licensing wise, assigning licenses, we've got a couple of ways of doing that. We can do it through groups, or we can assign them manually, or we can do it through templates. So we are going to take a quick look at Entra and Intune, and then you can see how they're done that way. They're pretty much identical. If we go to users, all users, you've got, so in here we've got the option of new user or new external, or inviting an external user. You've got bulk operations, and for this you can download a CSV file. If you've got a lot of people to create, you can download a CSV file. If we click on this, for example, bulk create, you can download the CSV file, enter all the information that you need, and then just upload it, click submit, and it will go through and generate all the accounts. Very simple. If you've already got a spreadsheet with all the critical data on it, you can just copy and paste the information in, upload it, and away you go. It's the same with the bulk invites. You get a different CSV template to download, and once you fill that out, you hit submit, and it will go off and do the invites for you. And the same with the bulk deletes. Surprise, surprise. And so, yeah, if we do create new user, you can set up the principal name. You can then choose the domain. It'll create the mail nickname, and then you can choose the display name. You can have it auto-generate the password, or you can detect that and put it in yourself. You can choose whether the account's enabled automatically or not. If you're setting the account up a few weeks in advance, then you may decide to create the account but leave it disabled until closer to the time when the person starts. Maybe enable it the day before. Then you can go through. I've actually just skipped a load of pages. You can fill in the first name, last name, all the information here if needed. Then under next, you've got your group assignments. You can add admin roles as well if you need to, if it's an admin account. And eventually, when you get to review and create, it'll verify that all the required information is filled out. You don't need to add a group or role at this stage if you don't want to, and just click create. And that is an account setup. Very easy. It's essentially the same in Intune. You go into users, and you've got the same functions. The only thing you can't do, if I go into this account, for example, licensing, adding, removing, and reprocessing licenses, licensing assignments is only available through the 365 Admin Center. The only difference, if we close that, should we close that? No, we'll leave that as it is. The only difference is if we go to users, active users, you've got this. So you can add a user, and you can fill out all the information. I don't know if it'll let me go further. Yes, it will. You can select what license you want to give them. You can then drill down to, if I choose that, for example, you could then decide you actually don't want to use, say, avatars for teams, for example. You could deselect that, that sort of thing. You've then got optional settings, which you can add roles. If it's going to be an admin account, you can add a role here. Otherwise, leave it blank. You've got profile information, so you can put in job title, office, some of the information, not as much as in the Entra admin center. And then click finish. The only thing that I noticed different here is that there's nowhere to add groups automatically to the account. You've got to do that separately. You can add multiple users, so you can add them in here. You have got the option for CSV file, and you can download the templates. If we go back to here, we have user templates. So this might be a good thing to do if you've got multiple offices, for example, or you've got different teams with different license requirements. You could add a template, give the template a name, description. Once you publish it, you have to delete it. You can't make changes to it. The basics, you can choose the domain that you want the accounts to be set up under. You can choose whether the password's automatically generated or if you want to create it yourself. And then you've got licensing, so you can choose whether to add a license template. So the template will always add the license that you select here. If you don't select a license, it won't add a license. And then under optional settings, you've got roles. So you could just have a template for admin accounts and different levels of admin accounts. So you might have help desk administrators and Intune administrators. So you might want to set up an admin account for just help desk administrators. So you could set a template up, not give it a license. But you could set the help desk administrator as the role, or you could do if someone is just going to be looking after user passwords, you could give them the user administrator role, things like that. And then you've got profile information. Again, there's nowhere to select what groups. Setting up a template, you could set it up. You could set the template up for different departments, different offices, things like that. And you could then just set up a template for, say, an office in Birmingham that you could predefine all the groups that are needed for that office. Or even if you wanted to go even more granular, you could set up a template for a sales team within the Birmingham office and have all of those groups already assigned. I think that would actually be a lot better. But there you go. You've also got the option of adding categories. So you could do Exchange Administrator, Groups Administrator, things like that. And then at the end, you've got Finish. And once you click Finish adding, it will create a template. I've created one that's called Standard Users. You've also got Manage Templates. So if you've got multiple templates, you'll be able to see all of them that are listed, and you could have a description of what the template's used for. This one I've just called Standard Users. Nothing too crazy. So the password will be changed at first login. License is Business Premium. It's got all of the apps. No admin roles are added, and there's no profile information. And if we go up to About Template, there's no description. It was published by me, or it was created by me, and it's in a published state. So if I wanted to change this, I'd have to delete it and recreate it. That's the only annoying thing about the templates. But yeah, that is creating a user. So you've got a few options. I quite like the idea of the templates one. I do think that they've missed a good option there with being able to add groups into the templates. Microsoft, if you're watching, make it happen. So yeah, let's have a look at groups. So for groups, you've got several different groups. I'll try and make this quick. So you've got Microsoft 365 groups, you've got security groups, you've got distribution lists, and you've got mail-enabled security groups. So if we go into teams and groups, you've got your 365 groups, and you can also have them. You can also set up a Teams group within the group, a Teams channel. So that'll show here. You've got distribution lists, which I've got none because it's only me, poor me. And then you've got security groups, and you can see I've set a few groups up. And then you've got mail-enabled security groups. Now, the difference between a security group and a mail-enabled security group is that the mail-enabled security group can actually receive emails. So if we go to settings, you've got group email there. And if we go to a standard group, you'll see that there's no option for an email address. Now, in a later video, I am going to show you some stuff to do with mailbox role assignments, and we're going to be using the mail-enabled security groups for that. So stay tuned for that video. Most common group you're going to create is a security group. So if we call it, we'll just call it test group, when I can spell. You can give it a description. Click next. Do we want to assign a role to the group? No, we're going to keep this just for users. And that is it. Create group. So if we close that, you've now got the test group. And we can go in, we can add an owner, we can add members. And that is that. Now, I've left the Enter Admin Center open because, again, we can do things slightly differently. In the Enter Admin Center, we can also create dynamic groups. And you'll know if you've got a dynamic group because under membership type, it was in the groups list, it'll say dynamic. And I've got 2 here. No, I've got 4. I was going to say I'm missing 2. These 2 are for the autopilot stuff that I'm going to be showing you. And yeah. So if we do new group here, so as you can see, the layout is slightly different. You can choose security and Microsoft 365 only from here. If you want to do a mail-enabled security group, you've got to do it through 365 Admin Center. So you've got the group name, so we'll call this test group 2. Very imaginative. You can give it a description. You can decide if you're going to assign it a role or not. Now, this bit, membership type, you have to choose this at the time you're creating the group. If you create an assigned group and then decide afterwards, oh crap, I want to make it a dynamic group, you've got to delete it and recreate it. Bit annoying, but yeah. And you've got 2 different options for dynamics, users and devices. If I show you just a dynamic one, you'll then get dynamic user member, and you can create a query. So depending on what you want, we could choose to have, say you've got a big organization, you want to create groups for countries. So you could go properties country, You could do equals, and then depend on how the countries are named in the user's profile, you could do, and once done, you could then validate the rule. So yeah, we're here, you can validate the rule. So if we go add users, choose my little account, it'll sit there, it'll think about it for a minute, and we should get a green tick. There you go. And if you want, you can view the details, and it will show you. So yeah, it's equal to. So that's one way you can use the dynamic groups for users, for example. If I show you one deployment profile one's probably the easiest because I know these work. You're looking at this and you're like, oh my god, what's this about? So this is going to be a autopilot group that machines will get added into automatically as they're created, and it's going to be, this particular one is going to be looking for machines that have got either UK, WW, or UK in a particular field in autopilot, and I'll be showing you that hopefully in the next video. And then it'll basically add it into the group, and then whatever you've got the group assigned to, it'll apply whatever settings you need to. And that is groups. Trying to be as quick as I can on this. Scream at me if I'm waffling. So we'll close that because we can't do any more on that one. And licensing. So we've got now only one way of doing the licensing, which is a shame. You'd go to billing, licenses, and under your licenses, for example, you could create a group, go into the license details, and then here, for example, you could add the group, and any users that you put into that group will automatically get assigned a license. And again, if you turn off apps within the license or options within the license, those will get applied to the group as well. And you could have the same group applying different licenses to it, and having those licenses automatically applying to the users. So yeah, that is quite a simple, straightforward way of assigning the licenses. If your teams are Microsoft 365 groups, you've got the option to add a team or Microsoft 365 group. Now, when you create these, you give it a name, click next. You've got to add an owner to 365 groups and teams groups. So I'm just going to add myself. Click next. And then add your members. Click next. You can give it a group name. You can decide if you want it to be public or private. The differences between them. Public groups can be joined by anyone without getting approval from the group owner. If it's private, it requires permission. That's the difference. So you could add an admin role, or you could create the option to do it. But you can't do it if it's if you're creating a team for the group. Click next, review the settings, and then create group, and that's it, really. Pretty simple and straightforward. Hopefully you found this, well, I would say brief, but it's been 24 minutes.